Hello everybody, Helen the Russian here, and this next video, I'm making several videos today, is about my driving for rideshare this past weekend here in Las Vegas. Several things, nothing major, but several unrelated and somewhat interesting things happen. And so we're talking now weekend of August 3rd and 4th of 2019. Obviously we're still in 2019. So I went driving for a bit Saturday night, and I think my second ride was a request to Maryland Parkway and Flamingo area, and it was from the Strip. And so I knew they were doing road work on Maryland, and I tried to avoid that area. Those of you who live here, they know that road was awful. It was full of horrible potholes, and they're finally fixing it up, which is great. However, the road is like a cheese grater in that stretch by the university. You know which stretch I'm talking about. So I took these people that they wanted to go to Seafood City, which is why that was the route I had to take, which I later regretted. I should have just made a big loop and go from the other side, because they were coming from Mandalay Bay, so I had to take that stretch where all the repairs are done. And it did feel like a cheese grater. And then after that ride, I got a couple more rides in that area, so I was basically kind of orbiting that area. And then the next ride, as it happens, I wasn't in the queue for the airport, but I dropped someone off, and almost immediately I got request for the airport, which sometimes happens. And as I was approaching, I already accepted the ride, and I was nearly at the garage at Terminal 1 when I saw the low pressure in the tire sign came up on my dash. And I thought, normally it's usually a nail or something, and normally you have about a day or at least till next day to fix it. And I had a feeling, I thought, you know what, I'm gonna give this ride. I don't want to cancel on these people, I'm here, but I'm gonna go straight to the shop and repair it. So that's what I've done. And then that's another thing, I had a feeling that it's gonna be something big, like I'm gonna need a new tire. So as soon as I dropped these people off at the Cosmo, I got on my way and I called Costco, and they were nice enough. It was 5 minutes to 7, so 6:55 p.m. And they said, look, we usually don't take people after 7, but come on in. And I'm glad I did, because the minute they look, they're like, look, it's not a nail, it's like a piece of metal, pretty big one, and it's not repairable. You're gonna need a new tire. Which means, which I did, and they sorted me out. Inside an hour I had a new tire, and it was not something I wanted to do clearly, because that tire would have lasted me at least another year, but that's alright. And more to the point, like I'd say at this stage, just avoid that area. It's honestly not worth it. Clearly all kinds of, like I said, the road feels like a cheese grater. It's not finished, and obviously all kinds of construction junk or whatnot is laying around, and there you go. So yeah, that wasn't particularly pleasant. But on the other hand, I'm a big believer in whatever happens for a reason, and probably universe didn't want me to be out driving on the streets for whatever reason that Saturday night, and so it was all good. And in a way, it kind of made up for that whole thing the next day, because I went driving late morning, and my second ride, I think, the guy was going from Vidara to the airport, and he was a nice guy, and we ended up having a good chat and whatnot. And then as we were chatting, I'm glad, because oftentimes you go to the airport and you take them there, and you know the terminal and the airline, but you really don't know where they're going as far as the specific destination. And because he was going to Alaska Airlines, I go, oh yeah, Alaska, nice and cold. He goes, well, no, San Francisco actually. And that's how I knew exactly where he's going. So I drop him off, and almost instantly I get another ride request in the Russell Eastern area. And as I'm approaching that, I could hear a notification on the phone, except it's not mine. I know it's coming from the back seat, and sure enough, the guy left his phone on the seat. And I was like, dang, he's gonna need that phone. And as I'm going to pick up this passenger for whom I already accepted the request, like I was nearly there, I thought, gosh, I'm gonna ask him. We're right by the airport. I don't know where he's going, but I'm gonna ask him if he minds if I swing by the airport really quick and try to return the phone. Well, guess what? See, that's what I mean about universe doing things. There is synchronicity to everything. This guy is going to the airport to Alaskan Airlines. He's flying Alaskan. So, and I told him, I said, I cannot believe the serendipity right now. So sure enough, so I dropped him off. I grabbed the phone. I asked the airport warden to please not tow my car. I told him what I'm trying to do, and he was nice. He goes, okay, I'll just stand in here and watch it, just be quick. So I rushed to Alaskan counter, and the previous guy who left his phone, he was already gone, but I talked to the staff, and I described him, and there was I told him where he's going, and as a matter of fact, the top handle on his suitcase broke as he was loading the suitcase in my car, so I thought you probably would remember him and whatnot. Anyhow, long story short, they managed to get the phone to him before he left Las Vegas, which is what I was trying to achieve through that whole thing. I mean, imagine, and he was telling me he's been in Vegas for 2 weeks doing business, so he wasn't just random tourist. As it is, we need our phones, but this was a business person who really needed it, and it was lovely. And of course, Lyft gave me $15 bonus for returning the item, and the passenger tipped me $5, and he wrote me a really nice message. He said, look, you saved my life, and it's a bit dramatic, but it's nice when people say that. Then he goes, what a nice person you are and whatnot. So check this out. So that ride initially was $5.22, I believe, right? So now at the end of it all, Lyft gave me $15 additional, so that's now $20. The passenger tipped me $5, so that now that's $20. That ended up being $25 run to the airport, from Vidara to the airport. And then that next ride, because it was right there, so basically within about 35-minute time frame. So that ride was like $4 and some cents, and the guy tipped me $5, so another 10. So basically I made $35 in about $35 a minute, and I managed to do a good turn to someone. That was nice. I quite enjoyed that. So sometimes universe, like I said, not entirely made up for what I had to pay for the new tire, but you know what, when you have a car, this shit happens. It could have been, I could have been doing anything and run into that piece of metal and someplace else. So like I said, it is what it is, but I'm glad I had that sense. Again, like I do believe that something was, we need to listen. We all have that intuition, we all do, but you just need to listen to that small, usually it's very small voice in the back of your head. Because normally I've had nails in the tires before in this car, and I would just go and repair them the next day in the shop, and it's all good. But this time it's just, like I said, small. I just thought, I think it's gonna be a new tire, and I drove straight to Costco instead of going someplace else. And the thing of it is, if I'd driven home and left the car in the garage, the next morning the tire would have been flat for sure. I would have to call the tow, and so it would cost me a whole lot more. Anyhow, so that was that. And then later, same day, Sunday, so later the same day, I drove for a while that late morning, and then I took a break, and then I went and drove a bit like early evening. And that story is not as pretty, but I want to talk about it as a word of caution for everyone, really. So I picked up these 4 girls from the Paris, and it was very obvious they were at the Paris pool party. Those of you who drive us, you know how I know, right? They were dressed a certain way, and they were pretty wasted. And it was one of the girls' bachelorette party, and they were only going from Paris to the Palms, so it's like really short. And it very quickly became apparent that at least 2 of them are completely wasted, and I don't mean just on alcohol. It was very obvious to me they were clearly drugs taken. I don't know what kind of drugs, but they took drugs either before that pool party or during, and then they topped it off with alcohol. And as we driving, I could hear it good, because they were talking amongst themselves for the first couple 3 minutes, and then it got really quiet, and then I'm trying to see what's going on, and then I hear one of the girls, the actual bride-to-be, which kudos to her, she's the one who stayed somewhat clear-headed, meaning she wasn't completely out of it. And she's trying to wake up the girl in the middle in the back, and I could hear her voice is getting frantic, and she's like, Vanessa, we're almost there. Come on, Miha, you need to open your eyes. And I could see that she's getting concerned, that the chick is, I'm not talking asleep, I'm not talking passing out, and the reason I'm thinking about drugs, I'm 100% sure there were drugs involved, she was getting worried. Like you can hear it in people's voice. She was absolutely frantic trying to wake her up. She was concerned that she might have overdid. Now they were staying at Palms Place, You all know, you people who live here, especially the drivers, that place is famous for pimps. Oh, they all love to stay there. And I've given rides to pimps in there. I've seen pimps in there loitering by the front door. And I'll be honest with you, in my mind, of course I wasn't saying anything, but I thought, do I need to take these girls to the police rather for a welfare check? Because I was genuinely concerned about their welfare in terms of, the condition, the state they were in. And like I said, all those pimps, I was like, they're gonna get taken advantage of. But ultimately, at the end of it all, when I pulled up, they were all awake and they all stood on their own 2 feet, meaning they gotten out of the car and they stood on their own. And I thought, they were in their 20s, but definitely over 21. So I thought, I don't want to mess up their party. Obviously, they came to Vegas to have a good time, and I certainly don't want to, spoil someone's good time. Clearly, trip to the police wouldn't be a highlight of their. Plus, I don't want to overwhelm police with something that they have plenty to do as it is. But it was one of those. I tell you what, like true story. If that girl in the middle did not wake up, if she was passed out, I would have kept on driving and I would have driven them to the police and asked for the welfare check, just because it probably would have been better. But because in the end of the day, they were okay, they stood on their own. I'm hoping they probably made it to their room safely and no pimp got involved anyway in there. So that was that. So that was the Sunday. I can't remember, was there anything else? I think something else would have happened, but I can't remember now. But anyhow, was somewhat eventful. Oftentimes you go driving and nothing happens. You pick up people, you drop off people, everything is kind of chugging along and it's all good. But, that was that weekend. Now, about universe looking after us all and about listening to that small voice. So yesterday I had, I was involved in things that had nothing to do with rideshare all day, and I went to a really nice ladies get together for clothes exchange and whatnot. So I got home and it was, about 5 o'clock in the evening or so, and I thought, well, shall I go and drive for a while and just, for a couple of hours maybe and whatnot, because there's a couple of conventions in town and it was raining, so I'm like, people gonna need rides. And I thought, well, let me go and work out in the gym first. And it's because usually when you work out, and it's true, the blood rushes to your brain and, you kind of think better. So, and as I'm on the treadmill doing my walk, I kind of thought, should I do it? Should I do it? And again, that small voice in the back of my head, and like, nah, just stay home. And so I did. I stayed home, and what do you know? This morning, I wake up, and what do you see on the news? I'm sure most of you seen it. There was a shooting, officer-involved shooting yesterday on Paradise between Twain and Sahara. So there were a couple of crime scenes, and that's what all happened. Well, I'll tell you in a minute what happened there. But more to the point, that stretch is what I normally take home when I decide that I've done enough with the rideshare. If I'm around the strip, I'll put trips towards destination, which I hardly ever get any. And I get on Paradise, usually from Sahara, and I go all the way, through the airport and to the Green Valley. And it happened not so late, it actually happened right around the time I probably would have been there. And apparently police seen this U-Haul pickup earlier, I think either earlier on in the day or earlier a couple of days prior, and that was something I can't remember, there was some kind of violation. So they saw this U-Haul pickup, the same exactly U-Haul pickup by the convenience store right there. That 7-Eleven, it's right, is it 7-Eleven or Circle K? It's right there on the Twain Paradise. So they saw that and they wanted to get driver's attention. And well, instead of stopping, the driver actually backed up in the parked police car. So he rammed into them and then he took off and they tried to shoot at him and he kept on going. He hit 2 parked cars on Paradise, which is why I'm talking that whole stretch was closed, because it all started on Twain and Paradise and it went on all the way to Paradise and Karen. And so he hit 2 cars and his truck ended up right in the middle there, right in the middle of the road. So I guess he spun out or whatnot. and then he tried running, and they got him. He's not dead. He's at Sunrise Hospital being treated, and it's unclear if they got him when he was still in the truck or they got him when he was running. But at the end of the day, there was shooting. There were bullets flying. What I'm saying, and it's lucky that no one got hit, but you never know. And I'm really glad I stayed home and was nowhere near it. So here is the lesson. Listen to the small voice in the back of your head. We all have that intuition, and the universe knows what's best for us, and we don't need to fight it. We just need to go with it. All right? Stay safe, everybody.